For a closer look at the Busfield case and what's next for the actor as he prepares for a detention hearing, like Alex said, next week, I want to bring in Rich Schoenstein, a trial attorney and legal analyst. Rich, good morning. Welcome back.
Good morning to you.
Busfield is due back in court on Tuesday for a detention hearing. We heard in Alex's piece there's now a new allegation against him. A father says his 16-year-old daughter was abused by the actor. How will this new allegation weigh into what happens at the hearing?
I don't know if the new allegation will weigh into the hearing too much unless it's part of the charges, unless prosecutors are going to amend the charges, because the case at hand for which he is under arrest has to do with two victims. And you wouldn't start looking at allegations from other potential victims that aren't part of the proceedings, that never went to court, that never amounted to any kind of indictment. That wouldn't really weigh into it. I suppose the prosecutors might attempt to go there, but I don't think that is really part of the analysis for this judge at this detention hearing.
We just watched that video of him proclaiming his innocence, then he turned himself in to authorities. How much does that video do for his defense, Rich?
Well, it does nothing for his defense in the courtroom. In the courtroom, that kind of thing is a negative. You would never let your client, in ordinary circumstances, post a video commenting on the allegations against him. Your client has the right to remain silent, and you tell your client to exercise that right. But Timothy Busfield has a public life, and part of his defense is his defense to that public because he wants to remain hireable and have a chance to work in the future. That's what that video is targeted to, not to the courtroom. To the courtroom, it is a potential negative only.
We should mention Busfield's wife, that, of course, actress Melissa Gilbert, a number of former co-workers, some of his friends have filed letters in his support. Does a judge take things like that into consideration in cases like this?
In terms of the detention hearing, I would think maybe, because the judge is trying to figure out if he can be let out of jail prior to a trial, and having the support of the wife, having a community support, having a clear place in the community, those are things that could be considered in deciding whether or not he awaits trial in or out of jail. On the merits, they're meaningless. They probably wouldn't even be admitted at trial. They don't really go to his guilt or innocence.
I want to turn now to another tragic case that's gotten a lot of attention in recent weeks. That's the murder of Spencer and Monique Tepe. They were found dead in their Ohio home. Their two children, young children under the age of 5, were found asleep in their rooms. Rich, it's been 2 weeks later. Monique's ex-husband, Michael McKee, was arrested. He's been charged in the crime. What are the two biggest questions you want answered in this case?
Well, the biggest question I have, in terms of the allegations is what happened, because the divorce, as I understand it, was a number of years ago, and the divorce was supposedly an okay divorce. It wasn't too adversarial. It was a parting of the ways, and then a number of years go by. She gets remarried. She's been remarried for 5 years. So if it were true that her ex-husband traveled across state lines and murdered her and her husband, the biggest question would be why? What happened? What changed in his life or their lives that would lead to that? And then the question I always have in a case like this is, what is the evidence, right? All of these defendants, Busfield, McKee, everybody else, innocent until proven guilty. So I'm going to want to know what the evidence is. It sounds like they have some pretty significant evidence, but you have to see that in detail.
A moment ago, you and I were talking about Busfield cooperating with authorities. What do we know about McKee?
Well, I think he is semi-cooperating with authorities. I mean, I think he is, in Illinois still and needs to be extradited to Ohio. I think he turned himself in, but I'm not sure about that.
All right, we'll keep an eye on both cases. I know you will too. Rich Schoenstein, I always appreciate your time and input. Thank you again.
Always great to be here.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.